Hey guys, Ali Juzette here, and today is day 9 of our 16 days of this 2025 Eclipse portal, the first one of the year. We're about halfway through these 2 weeks in between a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse, where we get to have some huge transformations, if that's what we want out of our lives. And today there's going to be an extra big focus on money, love, and image, like how you are portraying yourself to the world. And this is because today the sun is exact to the planet Venus. That means they're occupying the same little tiny slice of the zodiac today. And so that means that the sun is going to highlight the effects of Venus in all of our lives. Venus deals with love, relationships, money, and self-image. All of the Venus energy in our lives has the opportunity to be highlighted today. So pay attention to where you feel happy about your relationships, finances, or self-image, and where you feel sad or stressed about all of those things. This is a picture of what's going on today. The sun is officially in Aries at 2 degrees, and Venus is also at 2 degrees of Aries right now. So look at that. Venus is in the heart of the sun today. If big stuff shows up around money, love, or how you feel about yourself, take a deep breath because that is just the weather today. Things might get shaken up today, especially because the moon right here is squaring the sun and Venus from judgy and practical Capricorn. So, if Venus is all about these romantic ideas and, romance, Capricorn is not. And so there's going to be some tension between the part of us that is practical, the part of us that is romantic, and that tension may show up from external sources as well. You might be the practical one in your relationship, and the other person, if you're in a relationship, the other person might be more of the romantic, and there might be some conflict about that today, or vice versa. Maybe you're the romantic, you want more romance, it's not showing up, and your partner is feeling like that's just not practical. Why can't you just see that I'm just doing the best I can, and what I need to do is go to work and get the job done, mail it in. This is the kind of energy that might show up today. Now, I want to talk about some of the struggles that people have with Venus, because Venus is considered the lesser benefic of the star chart, which means that it's like the little good guy of the chart. The big good guy is Jupiter. And Venus is thought of as a good guy because it governs pleasure and entertainment and comfort and receiving money and romance, which are all really good. But the reality is that Venus energy is only positive when it is treated positively. Okay, it has to be handled inside of appropriate boundaries, because all of those things that Venus governs, if there's not good boundaries about it, it causes massive, massive problems. Okay, when Venus energy does not have good boundaries, we see obsession with money, lust, comfort, pleasure, and food. The things that lead a person to quote unquote hell, in both the afterlife and also here on Earth. Okay, the things that make us greedy, fat, lazy, and rotten. Uh, that is what Venus can become for us if we do not have good boundaries over ourselves. How are we spending our money? How are we keeping our attractions within an appropriate boundary for our lives? What happens when we love comfort and food so much that it's made us obese? This is a big problem. And so here in this slide, I wrote cactuses in the rainforest because my friend told me this metaphor, and I loved it, that human beings are cactuses and we're meant to live in difficult circumstances, and that's where our ancestors existed for thousands of years. And now we live in a rainforest. We are cactuses in a rainforest. We're beings that are meant to struggle and, experience hard things. And now, we go through hard things, but it's not the same kind of hard as, trying to make it through the winter, in your log cabin in 1802 or something like that. Like we have different struggles, and one of our biggest struggles is having too much. We deal with an excess, Um, I don't know. I'm just thinking of how, like, in America, uh, there's there's I don't know. There are many people that are in poverty, but they are obese, which should be impossible, but it's because they can still have plenty of calories, and that's just a symbol of like where we're at right now. We've had so much exposure to excess, and for some of us, we've let that excess get the best of us. So, as we evaluate our comfort levels, finances, and relationships today, it's also a good time to assess how our boundaries, or lack thereof, have played a role in the creation of what we are experiencing now, for good or ill. Oh, and before I move on, because I had this little section about how Venus involves the things that can lead a person to hell. You know, when we let Venus get too out of control, and we don't put any boundaries on how we engage with excess and comfort and pleasure and food and money and lust, when we don't have boundaries on that, um, it causes us big problems. I read this little essay by a different astrologer who pointed out that Venus itself is like a hell planet. It is super hot, it's super sulfuric, it has enormous, enormous, enormous amount of pressure. If you as a human being went to the surface of Venus, it would feel like hell is described in the Bible. So that is just a really interesting an interesting thing, something I've been thinking about. You know, I always thought of Venus as like the good guy, but the reality is you can have too much of a good thing. And when we do, it causes problems. So today I'm going to recommend you screenshot this and, you know, maybe journal about it. But these are just some good thought questions for us on where we need better boundaries, just to get our brains thinking. Where do we need more appropriate boundaries on how our own Venus energies are expressing? And you can go and run your own free star chart. The website used to be illuxology.com, and I don't know what my friend's website is now to get a free star chart, but if you Google up run a free star chart, you'll find something, and you can find out where your Venus is in your natal chart. And then you will Google, you know, Venus in Virgo or Venus in Aquarius or whatever yours is, and that will give you some more insights on how that shows up in your life. Okay, where do we need better boundaries on what we eat, or when we eat, or how much we eat? Where do we need better boundaries around food? Where do we need better boundaries on how we spend our money? Where do we need better boundaries on how we interact with the various people in our lives? Where do we need better boundaries on how we spend our time? And where do we need better boundaries on our self-image? You know, Venus governs vanity and flattery. Okay, so if we find ourselves, you know, excessively obsessed with what we look like, for good or for ill, like if we are obsessed because we think that we look so good, or we're obsessed because we think that we look so bad, those are both expressions of Venus that are kind of unhealthy. So today is an invitation to think about all those things and maybe actually sit down and set some new boundaries, or adjust the boundaries that you currently have around all of these issues. We have a lot of support for that today. So I wanted to invite you to write down what comes into your mind about all this stuff, and to talk with God specifically about a plan of action to solidify these new boundaries that will help keep you in a better and happier and healthier place. That's it for today. Be sure to like and subscribe. Check out allieduzatclasses.com. I've got some new sessions out for this eclipse cycle. So yeah, head over to the website to find out what they are and what's going on with that. But thank you guys for being here. I can't wait to see you tomorrow. I hope that you are feeling happy and calm about everything going on with this eclipse cycle. We're over halfway done. We're doing a great job. See you tomorrow.